Well, hello everybody. Again, it's Psych Life. I hope everybody's been good since the last time you guys saw my video. Today I wanted to focus on the stages of change. And although we all go through these stages when it comes, well, you know what, let me backtrack. The stages of change is a theory that mostly is used in addiction cases. When looking at a client, we tend to see that the client goes through these stages and they name them, and I wanted to go through each one so you guys get an accurate representation of what a person that's in the process of changing will go through. All right, so first we'll start off with the very first one, the Pre Contemplation Stage. Let's use an example. A client has multiple arrests for drug possession. All of a sudden, their lawyer puts them, instead of them getting felony charges, they'll put them in drug court. That's technically what happens here in the US. They'll tend to put them in drug court, or if they commit a crime, they were mentally impaired when that happened, and the lawyer will try and put them in drug court. And that way they can get treatment instead of being in jail. Honestly, it's awesome. I've seen clients really progress through drug court. Most of the time when a person goes through treatment and goes to see a clinician, they're in this stage, the pre-contemplation stage. They can't admit that they have a problem. They're not willing to change, say something. Well, markers aren't working, but they're not willing to change. They're not ready to change. I don't have a problem. I only smoke weed because it helps me cope. I only smoke weed on the weekends, and I only do coke on the weekdays. But I don't have a problem because I still go to work. No. They're not willing to admit that they have an issue yet. They're not ready to change. They're not ready to change. Most times when someone gets accepted to a residential treatment program, they'll stay in here for about 2 weeks. And that's right here, not ready to change. And sometimes the client doesn't want to change because that's all they know through their experiences, or maybe the client doesn't want to change because they're resistant to treatment for XYZ reasons. But eventually, after 2 weeks, it typically takes about 2 weeks. Okay, sometimes it'll take 4 weeks. It all varies. There's no concrete timetable. They'll enter the contemplation stage. In this one, they're contemplating changing. They're thinking about changing. So we're right here thinking about change. And so they'll start thinking, you know what? Maybe doing coke every night on the weekdays isn't the best thing. They don't know how to change. They might not even be ready to change, but they're starting to think about change. Maybe drinking a bottle of wine every night isn't the best thing for me because then I get up late to work. When working in the residential treatment program where I've been working, a lot of times when clients enter this stage, it's conflicting for them. Wow, I've been doing drugs for the last year, and now I'm seeing that there can be a better life without drugs, and I can live the same lifestyle without spending as much money, and I've spent so much money on drugs. Maybe I do need to change. But when that happens, it comes with a lot of hard work, because the person that's thinking about change doesn't know how to do it. And that's where a lot of times a clinician like myself will come in, or a therapist, or a BHT, and they'll start helping them with this stage, the preparation stage. We'll start forming a plan for them to be able to execute change. So how can that plan, what does a plan consist of? Let's say, well, we'll start forming Maybe they need rec therapy. Remember, I'm using the example of a residential treatment. Maybe they need equine therapy. Maybe they need to develop better communication with the family and feel more accepted, and in the family accepting them and seeing that they're willing to change, maybe that could develop some motivation. So what about we include here some family therapy? Individual therapy too. There's so many techniques when working with those that are struggling with addiction. For example, client-centered approach, which constitutes like motivational interviewing, or it might be known as person-centered. What about behavioral orientation? Well, if you do this and you do this, you get to go on pass and see your family for 8 hours. Or maybe you're working with them in outpatient. Outpatient meaning they're not living in the residential facility. You get to see them maybe once or twice a week. Oh, you're doing good. Let me write a good letter to the judge. You reward them. That's behavioral orientation. What about cognitive behavioral? You focus on their schemas. You challenge their belief systems. What about reality therapy? You let them know that if they don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And you let them know very clearly. Sometimes therapy, I don't want to use the word confrontational, but it can be very blunt between the therapist and the client, and it has to be blunt, because when working with addiction, you're working with dysfunction. That is what addiction is, dysfunction. So preparation, let's include here individual therapy. So we said here the client's preparing to change. Once you develop a plan for the client to change and the client accepts that plan and says, wow, I can actually execute this, then they'll enter the action stage. Action is they actually do something about it. So when engaging the action stage, you're actually executing what you prepared for, which in the clinician case, sometimes I'll throw in rec therapy, equine therapy, family therapy, individual therapy, group therapy. Group therapy is known to work great with adolescents. It's actually the most research-based. So you get to actually execute it. And remember, you can never, as a clinician or a therapist, no one can work harder than the person trying to change. And sometimes you may have a client that you get, instead of when you meet them, instead of them being in the pre-contemplation stage where they don't realize they have an issue, they don't have an addiction, you'll get them when they're in the contemplation stage. Hey man, they'll tell me, hey, I want to change, I know I have an issue, I just don't know how. You skip the resistance stage. There's always going to be some sort of resistance. But when working in an action plan, it's the client's job. Any questions, or if you guys want to give me some feedback on my videos, that'd be great. And if you guys have any topic that you guys like to talk, you like me to discuss, let me know. I will be doing a video on autism pretty soon, since it's Autism Awareness Month, and happy Autism Awareness Month, everybody. All right, thank you for watching my videos. Psych Life.